Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again on this lovely Thursday afternoon. And we are here to talk through another ThankView How-To on segmentation. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lindsay Roth. I am the Partner Community Manager over at ThankView, but I am also the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Annual Giving at UMass Dartmouth. I've been in the higher ed industry for just over 12 years now and really enjoy utilizing technology in my day-to-day role at UMass Dartmouth and enjoy really talking about best practices with all of you guys. Before we get started, I do want to do a plug for our Facebook Partner Community Group. For those of you who don't know, great ideas are being shared there every day. So just open Facebook, type in ThankView Partner Community in the search bar, and request to join, and somebody will definitely put you right in. This is a great place to ask about ideas that you're kicking around in your group, but also it's a great place to celebrate your successes and share your ideas with the community as well. And if you're looking to continue to dive down the ThankView rabbit hole, I really encourage you to head over to medium.com/ThankView. This is our blog, Send and Receive, and basically it features case studies, success stories. There's tons of examples, client profiles, and more. And if you have an example that has worked really well, in addition to sharing it to the community, let your account rep know, because I would love to feature a case study on this platform. So we're going to dive right into segmentation today and talk really about why segmentation is important with video, especially in the current marketing and donor mix that we have in our society, ways that ThankView makes it very easy for you to segment and also personalize your campaigns. We'll go through some campaign examples that you could consider replicating at your institution, and then get to some Q&A. I do have the question option open, so feel free to type right in here and it'll ping me to let me know that somebody has asked a question, or feel free to submit them at the end as well when we have extra time to talk. So I wanted to start with some video consumption stats. This is really important because it really just strengthens the argument, especially for any naysayers about why video really needs to be part of every aspect of your approach, not just stewardship, not just events. It needs to be integrated into a lot of your 2% of all internet traffic will be video by 2021. And this obviously is some of your streaming devices and things like that driving that traffic. However, a lot of it is our donors, prospects, people that you communicate with every single day looking for that content and seeking it out. Millennials specifically, who are becoming more and more into the C-suite and becoming our leadership and major donor prospects, are 150% more likely to watch video on a mobile device. And if your message isn't mobile optimized, 80% of all email users will delete it immediately. People don't just don't just prefer these messages to be optimized, but they expect it to be. And thankfully, you're on a platform like ThankView that does optimize across every platform. Content should be genuine and not feel highly produced, which again, don't get caught up in the need to have a professional, freelancer or your marketing team come in with huge fancy drone shots. Really, you're armed with all you need in your pocket with an iPhone or a smartphone and a simple editing platform. Gen X loves educational videos. So again, thinking about maybe how you can reinvent the classroom experience that maybe you've taken on the road and instead offer it as a webinar. And then boomers are more active on tablets, laptops, and desktops. But again, should not be discounted as a group that is very into consuming video. So now we dive into segmentation and why it matters so much. As I mentioned, the mix is only getting more and more savvy by the day. Amazon really emerged and changed the game, making personalization the rule, not the exception. And so with that experience being replicated time and time again in the business marketplace, it's only going to translate to the relationship that you have with your prospects, that they expect to have a really personal experience and to feel like your organization truly knows them, not just as a donor or alum, but as an individual. According to MailChimp, when you segment campaigns, you will see an increase of about 15% in open rates and 60% in click-through rates, which I thought was just wild, but it makes total sense because again, the mix right now is a group that really plays into that personal feeling, and when they feel seen and heard, you will see results in your metrics. And that click-through rate that I referenced is going to climb to 300% increase when you add video to your message. So again, if you're looking for action associated with your message, make sure that there's a video component because it works. And finally, and we'll go through examples of how to A/B test and some examples of what you may want to test at your institution at the end. But testing different approaches and seeing what works well is really the key to segmentation because it will only help you really get to the heart of what the special sauce is for your organization. So before we go into the how to A/B test, we can really talk about ways that you can segment. And these may seem very obvious, but I really wanted to make sure that we touched on some basic examples because it may not be extremely top of mind at your organization. First and foremost, geography. Hearing from a student in the same region can create instant rapport. And if you're struggling to get people on the phone, it may be nice to send out an invitation to talk with a student and pair them according to geography so that they feel like they're going to be talking to someone that's from their community already. That student probably will be able to get more buy-in with a face-to-face introduction over video and then maybe a call to action that asks them to sign up to for an appointment with the student to talk about what the updates from campus are. Behavior. Ultimately, I think a lot of institutions are doing this, acknowledging your donors, and they'll want to reinvest, making sure that if they're a past donor, you're acknowledging this in your communications, and that you're, if they have any milestones that they've reached, any kind of clubs or societies that they're members to, always featuring that and making sure that you really play into the exclusivity of that relationship. Affinities and lifestyle are really important to play into as well. You can appeal to generational trends. For example, Gen X is very into sustainability, as are millennials and Gen Z. But millennials and Gen Z are going to be very more open to giving via crowdfunding campaigns because of the visibility that they create and the community that they build. But you could also, look at what your prospects were involved in as a student. If they were Res Life people, maybe talking to them about new dorms that are being built because they probably will have a deep appreciation, even though other students obviously lived in the dorms. If they were residential assistants or, leadership in those roles, they were living in those dorms all 4 years. They didn't have the opportunity to move off campus. And then finally, psychographic or emotional, like tapping into that storytelling ability that makes prospects want to take action and be part of something. And so really looking at your message and seeing if there's an opportunity to tell a story and make them buy in. I noticed that somebody raised their hand, so let me see. I'm gonna try to, okay. It looks like, it's gonna look, Jessica, you raised your hand, I believe. I'm not seeing. If you could type a question in the question box, I think that will be the best way for me to be able to answer you. Jess, I'm not seeing where you raised your hand. I apologize. Technology, right? Can't live with it or without it. So I'll look for your question in the question box. And we'll move on to A/B testing now. So for those of you who are new to A/B testing, or maybe your role isn't completely in overseeing and executing email campaigns, it's really easy to do an A/B test. First, you're going to want to come up with a campaign to A/B test a message with. For example, maybe you want to appeal to all people who have given to scholarships in the last 5 years, and you run that list and sort by odd and even prospect IDs to split at random. I'm suggesting this. That does not have to be how you choose to split your list. I just choose to split my list that way because it's the most random way. I've also heard of doing this with zip codes. Again, it's something that's at random. Keep the majority of the content consistent except for one variable. That could be the length of the message, or I would really suggest including video versus a static image to see if there's a real response that happens. And then ultimately, you're going to want to analyze your open rates, your click-through rates, and conversions to see if there's an impact that is on a curve enough that really makes it worth it to you. Oh. Okay, Jeff, sorry. Didn't mean to put you on the spotlight, but I'm glad that I wasn't missing a question. So finally, I'm just going to move into examples of audiences that you can target with personalization. And a lot of these probably are not news to you, but I'm also, happy to brainstorm any other communities that might be unique to your organization that you're trying to find a way to really pander to. But, there could be anything from, like you said, behavior, live hunts on the threshold of a leadership giving society, leadership donors, giving them exclusive content, temporary audiences, that's your rated parents and family members, seasonal sports and donors and alumni, especially if the team is winning. Think of how nice it would be to just get a little thank you to all the donors to the team after a big win. Or, at the same time appealing and asking them to be part of the exciting time in the history of the team. Current donors sometimes don't realize that they're part of matching gift companies. So if you have that employer data and are able to appeal to them as a current donor, then letting them know that they can have their gift go even further at no cost to them is a great way to get another touch point in. Non-donors that have never ever given, I really encourage you to be very creative with this population, because if they have not given, especially within the first 3 years of graduation, it's so much harder to get them back. So why not try something completely off the wall and new, like soliciting personally via video? I have had a lot of success with this, especially at my previous institution at Boston University. We were able to actually sit down with a group of phone-a-thon managers who had performed very well at their jobs and were looking for another task to take. And they were assigned a group of never donors that had leadership capacity but had just never given to the university. And so we had them solicit and either ask for an opportunity to talk on the phone, but we included a call to action with our ThankView that led right to our giving form. And we ended up making $35,000 off of one send. And I am confident that that is money that we would have never seen given to the institution had we not just tried something new. Family members, like family societies, are a great way to stress perks and benefits and showcase insider information, especially over video. Popular regions with strong club networks, considering, maybe doing some sort of student story, scholarship story from a person in their region that's benefiting from generosity, like giving back. And then peer-to-peer groups, looking at ways that we can use our existing volunteer base to literally put a face on an event invitation or philanthropy or, any kind of initiative that would just go further if it was less institution to prospect driven and instead prospect to prospect driven. So ThankView makes segmentation super easy, and that's why I really love this platform. You could do a video request campaign to get your peer-to-peer videos, and then turn that around to various campaigns and build the audience around the affinities of the person making the ask, whether it's to come to an event or join them in giving back before the end of fiscal year. And it's light lifting on all sides of the equation because you're just sending out one message to a ton of people and getting back videos that instantly add right into your library, again, making it really easy to turn around and make it to a campaign. Again, I really think you can set up A/B campaigns and name them accordingly to compare within your metrics tab. Again, that's data that's being laid out really easily. And you can compare that also with any of your email clients because they're all in the same layout and format. Encourage replies and collect instant feedback on events and approaches that you're taking in the stewardship or engagement space. I think that qualitative feedback is really invaluable, and you can actually sometimes leverage that one interaction into a deeper visit or even a volunteer opportunity for that person in the future because they're raising their hand and saying that they care about the institution enough to take the time to reply back with some feedback. You can also personalize any intro before a canned video for any population. And so that can be as simple as saying, hey, Jane, I thought as a current student, I really appreciate your giving and thought you'd really enjoy this video on the impact that scholarships have at your organization. It could also be, that you record a simple message from an athletics team before a general, video about the impact that athletics has. And it's not necessarily personalized to the person, but it could be personalized to the sport. And then ultimately, there's lots of metrics to digest in ThankView so that you can be confident that the results that you're seeing are worth your efforts. And if any tweaking is needed, that it's going to be crystal clear. So I always love to go into video examples with this, with these how-tos. And this one is a little different because, we're talking about segmentation. And so I don't necessarily have access to a deep library of videos that did A/B testing and have results because these aren't, these organizations that I find that have great examples. Obviously, I don't have a personal connection with them and access to their metrics. However, when I went into the planning for this how-to, I thought, I want to really show you examples of ways that you can do A/B testing with video, either comparing the video with each other in this first example that we're going to go to with United Way to Calgary, or comparing video versus static imagery because you may be doing things that are tried and true, but actually are having a much smaller impact than they could be if they were done with video. And so this may be a nice way to start to test the waters about expanding your use of video at your organization. So we're going to start with the United Way of Calgary here. And the first example that you're going to see is a much longer video. Both of them are being marketed to the leadership giving population. And so one is much longer in length, which I think is appropriate because it does a great job of storytelling, but the other one is shorter, sweeter, and to the point. And so that's not to say that one is better than the other, but this is an example of two A/B tests that you could put up against each other at your organization to see if you maybe get a better response rate based on one or the other. It could also end up that that's not the case and it's sort of inconclusive, and that's okay too, because that's the point of testing.
I was born to two very young parents who were split by the time I was 5 years old. My brother was born soon after me. My father wasn't very present. And so it was really just the three of us, me, my mother, and my brother. When my brother was 5 years old, he was diagnosed with leukemia. And at one point, his body was 98% cancer, and he had to be kept in isolation. My mother had to support us all financially by herself, essentially. She would have to juggle bills, decide what she could pay, what she couldn't, to enable her to put food on the table for me and my brother. We lived in subsidized housing for pretty much my entire childhood. There was times our power went out or we received eviction notices. We'd sometimes make a game out of how long we could stay in a cold shower. And it's only as I've grown older that I've started to realize the struggles she faced as a single parent. Sometimes I did feel resentment towards my friends or my peers in school because they had the freedom to go on vacations with their families. I had things on my mind like my mother's struggle financially or my brother's struggle in a health perspective. It was just kind of a constant cloud over my head throughout my early teenage years. And realized that there was all these programs that we can access through the United Way, which could have eased a lot of the burdens and a lot of the struggles that my mother faced raising us. I'd say a lot of my story is based around the fact that we didn't access support systems being offered. And my mother felt that there was kind of a stigma around asking for help, which made the struggle that we faced that much more of a struggle. I believe that success can exist without a solid foundation. And to achieve that foundation, you need to ask for help. There was a lot of services in and around Bowness that were affiliated with the United Way. The Women in Need store on Bowness Road is funded by the United Way. The Bowness Community Association, again, is funded in conjunction with the United Way. Having access to affordable clothing and dishes and that kind of thing through the Women in Need Society really helped us because it decreased the amount we had to pay on things that you just don't realize cost as much as they do. And in my opinion, these are basic needs, and they're basic needs that everyone in Calgary and everyone in the world should be able to meet. I wish that families living in poverty knew that they had access to all the programs and all the supports that United Way offers to foster their success and make sure their basic needs are met. Poverty touches everyone, regardless of your income, regardless of your social status, regardless of what kind of job you have. And there's no shame in it at all. Bad things can happen to good people. There are so many who live at or very close to the poverty line in this city, and they do it while working full-time and raising children. And that's something I think more people need to be aware of and more people need to be proactive about. When you get to the United Way, you're helping create and invest in someone else's support system. And without that support system, they can't reach the success and the potential that they have.
So again, like a little bit longer in terms of the video length, but definitely appropriate given the audience, the level of ask that's being had. And it was a really nice story that was being told. So, and now this one is a little bit different in nature.
My life changed the day I lost my husband. I couldn't bear to be without him. The seniors program got me feeling like myself again. Today I have friends and a reason to smile every single day. Do you know what your donation looks like? It looks like me.
Again, a story that is being told, it's clear, like the impact that you're having on someone's life, but it's very, very different, right? And so that would be a really great way to test if a longer video could hurt your conversion rates for a certain population. And that's something that I would really suggest doing as an A/B test. A lot of you are probably in a similar situation to what I am in my university. We do an automatic email for birthdays, and I'm pretty sure that they've gotten the same message every year. And so this is something that I'm hoping to change using ThankView. And I really love this example from Baylor University. The package isn't pretty because it was sent to me as a sample. So, so it's not necessarily what Baylor is sending out. I have to say that. And obviously the ThankView itself is not populated, but I really loved the video. Again, like really great, short, sweet, to the point, but how much more impactful is that? And also you have to consider, I doubt anyone is forwarding their birthday message that they're receiving from your organization with a static image, but I do think that this would have legs on social media, and it's very easy to share right from the ThankView platform. So in another way, I think you could really test the impact of a static invitation versus a face-to-face interaction, or screen-to-face interaction, if you will. This is an example of what we did for our homecoming at UMass Dartmouth. This is one of our board members, and we actually used it to boost young alumni attendance at our homecoming event.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Greg McCarthy here, class of 2013, the greatest class to graduate from UMass Dartmouth. Marketing major, currently working at Dell, as you can see behind me, lots of cool Dell products. I'm actually in Berlin right now, but you know what I'm thinking about most? Is homecoming, October 19th to the 21st. I can't wait to come home. It's one of my favorite events of the year. You're not going to want to miss it. As I think about what my favorite part of the event is, there's so many cool things. Jimmy Tinkle's going to be there this year, but on top of all that, the big staple, the big tent outside the football game, the beer tent, one of my favorites. I look forward to catching up with everyone there. It's one of the best events of the year. If you are a UMass Dartmouth alumni and you're watching this message, I can't encourage you enough to come. It's so much fun. I'm going to challenge a lot of my friends to be there. So if you're in the class of 2013, you're not going to want to miss out on that. But lots of good things coming. Save the date, October 19th to the 21st. Hope to see you there.
So this was the video that we sent, and then we had the registration right there for homecoming, and there was a nice letter from Greg below it. I really think that, this is something to consider for an event, and especially one that maybe is struggling a bit with registration, because I've had success when I was at Boston University of using this approach for events that happen on a registration page that have a lot of other competing events. We had Winterfest, we called it, at BU, which occurred during actually this time of year across like the winter time frame. And there was a variety of events across the region, but they all had the same event form. And so we actually took some time for a really cool event at the Harvard Club, explained how to find it on the registration page. And then we exceeded our registration goal for the event simply because we took the time to explain what the event was, why it was so cool, and then how to find it in the registration form. So sometimes you can use the technology to help with the technology, right? And then finally, this is a nice way to break out of the habit of just sending out a boring donor list every year. BU use this to kind of launch their donor list and get people to interact with it more on their digital site.
There are a lot of reasons BU is great.
Like terrier hockey,
The best beach in Boston.
and bow ties, to name a few. But maybe the best thing about BU is our donors.
The people who give year after year to help make BU great. This past year alone,
We had 44,000.
800.
And 27 donors. What? That's a lot of awesome. Like this guy. For these parents.
Nice bird. Or this recent grad. What a rock star.
For the members of the class of 2014 who gave 2,354 of them.
Because of our donors, we have awesome things.
Like this.
And this. And this. I love that place. Not to mention things like the photo club.
Psychology Club. BU Snowboarding Team. WTBU.
BU Hunger League. Oh my gosh, there's so many clubs on campus. And how can we forget about things like computers, light bulbs,
Scholarships.
classrooms, intramurals, great professors, and just about everything else that makes BU awesome.
That is a lot of stuff. Each individual donor, every single gift.
Comes together and adds up to something monumental.
A better BU year after year.
So to all of our donors, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go find your name on the list.
At bu.edu/impact. Because you're kind of famous now.
Sorry, the volume kind of kicks up there. So this is something that we did in-house. Oops, embarrassing. That's all better now. You know, this is something that we did in-house when I was at BU, and had a script. All the students read it soup to nuts, but we also didn't just ask students to show up. We cherry-picked them from walking by, seeing if they had time and were willing to participate. This was all produced in-house using Adobe Spark, which is something that if you have an Adobe Enterprise account affiliated with your university, you have access to. It's very easy to use, and I encourage like expanding your horizons, doing some YouTube searches on how to produce video, because it's not, you know, to say that there wasn't a lot of creative people and minds behind this video in particular, but you can really scale it to what's accessible to you based on your resources and skill sets at your institution. Overall, we saw huge skyrocketing increases in the number of people accessing the donor list, not just finding their own names, but then looking to see who was giving above them. So then that also does a little peer-to-peer awareness, and sometimes it can pressure people to give more in the next year so that then they're among their friends on the list as well, which is why we do these things, right? Not just for recognition, but for motivation. And so thinking beyond that and comparing what just a general send versus including a video could do for the traffic to a site. With that, I just want to talk to you about our ThankView referral program. I am self-professed not over Chris Pratt and Anna Faris's breakup, even though Chris is now engaged to Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. But here you can see him telling Anna about ThankView. She goes to thankview.com/demo and then enters in Chris Pratt's name in the referral box. And when Anna signs up for ThankView within 3 months of her demo, Chris is the proud owner of a $200 Amazon gift card. The long story short is, you can be Chris. So please refer anyone to this lovely platform that you think could benefit from our services. One last plug for our ThankView Partner Community Group. I really encourage you to join in ThankView Partner Community Group in Facebook. Lots of great ideas are being shared there each day. And with that, I'm just gonna open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer? While I wait for them to come through, I just want to give a plug for end of fiscal year planning. That'll be coming up twice next month because I think it deserves two chats. They will basically be identical. I don't think you're going to see much difference between the two. So really do what works for your schedule. You can sign up. I'll be sharing that link with you in the follow-up email that will include the slides to this presentation, as well as the recap that will be on our blog. And you'll be getting that tomorrow or Monday in your inboxes. And so feel free to sign up. I think it's, you know, that year, the end of fiscal year is going to be coming upon us quicker than many think. And so if you operate on a fiscal, you know, the the end is in sight, but we really have to make sure that you're prepared and taking advantage of all the opportunities out there for asking before the clock runs out. Okay. Looks like, are there giving days examples we should be looking at? Yes, Natalie, I think that I can absolutely show you some giving day examples. Actually, if you want to hang on, I can pop into my drive and actually show you. JD and I did a presentation together last week at the Northeast Annual Giving Conference, and we included some great video examples, and Giving Day was basically a main staple because we are on the horizon for that, right? Let's see. This is a great example, and I encourage all of you, even if you're not a Giving Day person, to stick around and watch all of them. This is from the University of Maryland. They hide boxes on their campus to promote their Giving Day. Very creative. Like, I'm sold. I want to know what's in the box. So I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. Here's what's in the box. You know, there's actually another. That's a really nice, like, continuous campaign that I think did a really good job of being short and sweet and to the point. But I think when it comes to Giving Day videos, you can also test, you know, are the personal videos for each individual area that can be benefited working, or are you getting a too granular with the content that you're pushing out there? I personally don't believe that you can get to that point with a Giving Day. I mean, you can in terms of resources, of course, but I think the more personal content, the better. But I also think that you could do testing with using maybe different subjects. So maybe students versus featuring administrators. If there's a better call to action, click-through rate, if they see the beneficiary versus the administration, right? That might be something worth exploring too. Are there any other questions that I can answer before we wrap up? All right, everyone. Well, I am always available at lindsay.roth@thankview.com. Always happy to wax poetic about best practices. Really appreciate you joining me for another edition of a ThankView How-To. And like I said, I really hope that you can join me next month on Thursday, April 11th or Tuesday, April 23rd at 3 p.m. both days for end of fiscal year planning, so that we don't take advantage, that we don't miss any opportunity to take advantage of video when we're planning for the end of fiscal. Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you soon at the next one. Bye-bye.